It has been 3 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, but welcome back to another episode of Auburn Anonymous. I am your host, Miles Espy. You can find me on Twitter at AshtonDanielsAA, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Jackson Arnold AA, also known as Michael Espy. Michael Jackson, how you doing on this fine Monday evening?
I'm doing good. Last time I talked about that marathon, I actually did the marathon and finished it at right about 4 hours. So starting to get ready for my next one in April. And as far as Auburn goes, we looked good the last 3 weeks. We did lose a game since we filmed our last podcast to Florida, but we've bounced back pretty well with four straight wins now. And I'm pretty confident going forward. Other than the Alabama game, I would say the other three games were closer than expected. Maybe not the Vanderbilt game was right about where we thought. The last two were closer than we expected. But as Bruce Pearl said at the beginning of the year, at this time of the year in the SEC, this is kind of the time of the year. Everyone knows what everyone's running. It's starting to get easier for other teams. They know what we're going to do. They've seen us do it against all the other SEC teams. It's easier to stop us. But, I expect we got who do we have for the weekday game? Ole Miss. I think we win that by double digits, and Saturday's a big one at Kentucky. So,
yeah, it's never easy to go into Rupp and win, but I have a good feeling we're going to go 2-0 this week.
Yeah, we'll get to
we're
that
gonna
later.
Yeah, we will. I got a sneaky suspicion we're going to go 2-0. I mean, we're just the best team in basketball. I mean, look, Florida, very good team. And, we lost it. I said we wouldn't lose at home this year, and I think we shouldn't have. But when you look at, teams that can bother Auburn, it's not a team like Alabama, a team that lacks size. Their main goal is to just try to shoot it over you and win. Well, good luck doing that against our defense. Florida, on the other hand, plays a much tougher style for us. They have a lot more big men in there. They're one of the few teams. You look at Auburn's 2 losses this year. I mean, loss number 1 was to Duke. I believe their shortest starter is 6'7", and then Florida, a team that has several good big men on their team, a couple good guards to make it a nice pairing, and the physicality on the inside really bothered us. So I worry about that for Auburn if they don't show up against a team that can match us physically down low. Not that they have a player as good as Jani Broome, but they have guys his size who aren't afraid of him, and they're pretty dang good in their own right. So,
I think it's easy to say that we outplayed Duke in that game when they beat us. I saw a stat when I was watching a Duke game. I forget who they were playing. Maybe it was Notre Dame. And it said Cooper Flagg had made more free throws than the entire other team had all season. And that's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you see it at the NBA. I mean, you see it in MLB as well. When Ronald Acuna, Freddie Freeman, you named the great players up at the plate. The ump tends to be a little more favorable, and you see it in basketball too with LeBron James. It's unfortunately one of the realities. But with all the success Auburn basketball has had, not only this year but under Bruce Pearl, I got to wondering: is Bruce Pearl the Nick Saban of college basketball? He's got to be one of the GOATs. We saw something from Clay Travis that said he's the current best coach in college basketball. Definitely agree. You and I definitely agree there. But is he the best of all time? First, I'm going to kick it to you to answer that.
No, he's up there. I would agree that he's the best coach in college basketball right now, even though I guess Bill Self, Houston's coach. There's a couple others. Tom Izzo, obviously. But I don't
Kelvin
think
Sampson, he has a name.
I don't think Tom Izzo's even won a championship in the last 25 years, though. I could be wrong on that. The rest, John Shire's unproven. Mark Pope's at Kentucky now, certainly not him. Nate Oates is a pretty good one, if we're being honest.
No,
but
he's a very good coach.
But best coach of all time, in my opinion, would have to be Coach K. I'm sure there's some old. There's got to be some older coaches.
About to say John Wooden. It's got to be John Wooden out of UCLA. But here's the reason I think you could make the argument Bruce Pearl's the Nick Saban of college basketball. It's most of these other guys inherited great situations. Bill Self at Kansas, for example, inherited a great situation. Bruce Pearl, you and I, as kids, were going to watch Auburn play at Beard Eves Memorial Coliseum. We were like ecstatic when the team broke 500 on the year. And dude, when we made the NIT in 2009, 2010, I believe that was the year. It might have been before then. I don't know. It feels right. You and I were hyped. There's the change now to where if we're a bubble team, I feel like we're disappointed. Like, we feel like we should be a top 4 seed every single year. And who else has done that other than Bruce Pearl? Yeah, at the end of the day, I tend to agree with you. I think Bruce Pearl, I'm going to say for the record, I think Bruce Pearl is a better coach than Coach K. Absolutely. He's a better coach than Coach K. I mean, how many championships did that guy win at one of the best powerhouses in college basketball? Not that many. I think Bruce Pearl is better than Coach K. But at the end of the day, John Wooden's got to be the number one. I think you got to make Bruce Pearl is like the Kirby Smart maybe of college basketball. He's kind of that second tier. He has time to prove himself, win a couple championships at Auburn, and that'll solidify his legacy.
Yeah, I say Coach K. I think it's just there's two different eras of basketball. It's hard to judge a coach now versus a coach who was coaching with no three-pointer. Yeah. So, yeah, you could be right. It could be John Wooden, but it would be a different type of – it's just a completely different game of basketball than what was being played then.
That's a fair point. Well, hey, that was an on-the-spot question I wanted to ask you. I'd been thinking about and wanted to see what you're thinking about it. But I guess looking forward, Auburn has, as you alluded to earlier, is Ole Miss still a top 25 team to your knowledge or no?
Let me look. Nope, they're not. Mississippi State is, though.
Interesting. Okay, well, I think Ole Miss has lost a couple games lately. I think you kind of went ahead and gave a spoiler alert that you have Ole Miss, Auburn beating Ole Miss by double digits. Why do you see that happening?
Well, one, we beat them by double digits at Ole Miss, so I can only imagine it's going to be even more at Neville, even though I would say the crowd at Neville, I've been there the last couple of games, and it just hasn't been as loud as it's been in past years. I think some would say, we're kind of experiencing the Nick Saban effect when it comes to our crowds. Like, everyone goes to the games, and people get disappointed unless we blow out the other team. And people expect to win at this point. I expect it to be back to pretty loud for the Alabama game, but I saw students, sitting down up until the 8-minute mark, and that just wasn't the case.
Wow.
Yeah, that just hasn't been the case in other years. Coming into this, I think we're kind of used to winning at this point. But I think they'll be up and at them. For Ole Miss, they haven't been playing as good as they had at the beginning of the year. I wasn't a really big believer in their team. I just don't really like their roster. I'm not a big. When Sean Padula is your best player, I think he went like 0 of 8 at Neville Arena last year when he played for Virginia Tech. And Malik Diaz has been a guy who has a lot of potential, but I just don't think he's ready to be a star in college basketball right now. So I just see Auburn handling them pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. We've kind of played with our food lately when it comes to having Georgia. And I forget who the other team was at home. We were supposed to, kind of Arkansas. We were supposed to, I thought, roll. And we played with our food. But I kind of feel like it might be emphasized, hey, we've done this the last couple games. Let's not do it again. So I'm optimistic that will happen. And I saw an article, I forget who it was, linking Chris Beard to the Indiana head coaching job. So it makes me wonder if, maybe there's some distractions there as well. Something I'm, hopeful of.
I would like to see Tahad Pettiford, real quick. I'd like to see him make more shots when we're up 10 or up 15. It seems like he's only hitting shots when we're either down in the game or it's tied or it's a close game, or when we're playing our best competition. But it doesn't seem like he has his best games when we're up 10 against Georgia or I don't know. It seems like. He comes to play when we need him, but when we don't need him, he just kind of Doesn't
Leads
do
away.
that much. Yeah, exactly.
Can I make a confession to you? I probably shouldn't air this on Auburn Anonymous, but I'm going to make a little confession.
What's that?
I didn't even watch the Georgia game this past Saturday. I didn't watch it. So I'm going to assume that Tahad didn't play too great or missed some shots. Is that fair to say?
He played all right, just like typical. Just kind of like his average game, honestly. I mean, I feel like he's not one of those guys who's consistent with his scoring. It's either he gets 18 points or he scores like 6.
Yeah. Well, I've definitely noticed that. As you said, he's played the best in the games, and I'd rather it be that way than the other way around. So I guess we'll take it. But I guess I do want to add this past Saturday. I've been putting these little selfie videos out of myself, recording my thoughts on games the night Auburn's playing, and it's been lining up with Alabama playing for a lot of those games. And this past Saturday, I really wanted to do some prediction videos, put them out for the SEC. I was at Church of the Highlands' marriage conference this past weekend, so I couldn't put out my predictions. But for all you Alabama fans who've been on my case for always picking against Alabama, my first message to you is I was right the last 2 times. I mean, look, I'm sorry. You did lose to Auburn, and you did lose to Missouri. I saw both of those coming. But also, I had y'all beating Kentucky, and I have y'all winning your next game at home against Mississippi State. So, Bama fans, I promise you, I don't have y'all losing every single game. I just have you losing more than Auburn. So
Yeah.
I had to get that off my chest.
But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Mississippi State game is pretty close.
It could be. They've been playing better. I had them in the top 5 to start the top 5 of the SEC to start the season, but it hadn't panned out that way. But speaking of, do you want to get to some games?
Let's do it.
Perfect. Tuesday evening, the first game I'm seeing on my list is Florida traveling to Georgia. Who do you have?
I got Florida big. Georgia. I believe I don't know what their record is against Quad 1 teams, but it's terrible.
I was about to say they're 16-11, but I don't know that one.
Yeah, I know they beat Kentucky in their home opener, and that's what got a lot of people excited. But yeah, I don't see it for Georgia. Florida's really hot right now. I think that's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I'm not with you there. I think Florida wins, but I think it's close. Georgia, now home this year, has played most teams close. Florida did beat LSU by about 15 this past weekend, but if you go and look at that, they were actually losing to LSU at halftime. So I think that Georgia can hang with them. I think Georgia could win. Certainly could win, but I think Florida will win in a tight one. The next game, we have Tennessee traveling to Baton Rouge to play LSU.
Yeah, I'll take Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee by like 12.
Tennessee by 12. Okay, yeah, I think Tennessee. I think Tennessee smokes them. It might be 20. It might be 10. I don't know. I think Tennessee wins comfortably.
Yeah, but with the way they score the ball, I don't see it being more than 20.
Yeah, I agree.
That offenses look terrible.
Yeah, you're not. You make a fair point there. Next, we have Mississippi State traveling to Alabama.
I'll take Mississippi State in the upset. I don't have Wally with me, the Bulldog, to make this pick. Last time we were wrong and picked a Mississippi State at Alabama. I just think Alabama's trending down right now. They beat a Kentucky team at home who is without their two best point guards and their starting shooting guard. And, they kind of sneaked that one out at the real end. Mississippi State's been playing better. They beat Ole Miss by like 20 points at Ole Miss a week ago. So yeah, give me Mississippi State. This will be my upset pick of the week, and I'm not just doing that because it's Alabama. I truly believe Mississippi State will beat Alabama.
They could. They have the talent. They've been playing better lately. But I'm going to take the Tide at home. I mean, look, we completely humiliated them at home, and I take a lot of pride, take a lot of pleasure out of it. I loved it. I mean, I loved every bit of it. But I think that, between us humiliating them at home, Ole Miss humiliating them at home, I think they don't want another one of these close, relatively nearby teams beating them at home. I think they've been woken up. I think Alabama will win. It'll be close. Mississippi State's good. But also keep in mind, Alabama already beat them in Starkville. Moving on now. Should be an easy one. South Carolina traveling to Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri. South Carolina did win a big game, but they beat Texas, so that's not saying too much.
Yeah, I'm with you. Give me Missouri. Wednesday. From Tuesday to Wednesday, we have Ole Miss traveling to Auburn.
Auburn, obviously. I say by double digits, even if we have a bad game. We haven't been making shots the last couple of games, and I did look it up. Tahad Pettiford was 0 for 7 against UGA, so he did. Yeah, not great. Miles Kelly's been cold lately too. Just need to make open shots, and we'll beat them pretty easily. And we seem to make shots when we need to, other than that Florida game. So.
Again, I'm ashamed. I'm glad I didn't watch because we weren't making any shots. But Church of the Highlands Marriage Conference made me miss out on that Auburn game. but I'm not mad about it. But for the Ole Miss game, I have us winning. I think we win comfortably. But of course, we haven't always won comfortably in games I thought we would. But we'll definitely win. There's no chance we lose.
Old Colt the Highlands making you miss Auburn basketball games.
I know, right? It's unfortunate. But it was, I guess, for a good reason. I guess. Next up, Vanderbilt traveling to Texas A&M. What you think?
Give me Texas A&M. Yeah, they should win that game easily. Vanderbilt's been playing well. Vanderbilt should definitely be an NCAA tournament team. I'll say that.
Texas A&M is a team I love. I mean, I think they're about as good as any team in this. I think they are just about as good as any team in this conference outside of Auburn. Give me them at home. I'm not going to be picking against them at home. Next, we have Kentucky traveling to Oklahoma.
Give me Oklahoma in the upset. They need this game more than Kentucky does. They're obviously another bubble SEC team. It's at Oklahoma, as I said. Kentucky's supposed to be missing. Will still be missing Lamont Butler, who came back to practice today actually, but he won't be playing in that game. Lamont Butler's still out. Kirk Carissa's obviously still out, and Jackson Robinson's still out. So yeah, give me Oklahoma in an upset.
Not gonna lie, I hate both of these teams, but just Oklahoma at home. I mean, I've been looking at like these rivalry games, not the rivalry games, these new teams and conferences, like Texas when they got Kentucky at home, Oklahoma when they get Kentucky at home. These teams in new conferences when they play blue bloods in their first home game, they've been winning a lot of them. So I will take Oklahoma over Kentucky. The last but not least, Texas and Arkansas. Who you thinking takes that one at Arkansas?
Yeah, Arkansas big. Texas just seems like they've been trending down for a while now. Their whole offense is run through their freshman Trey White. Is that the name? Trey Johnson, whatever it is. That
Trey,
guy.
yeah, I don't know.
Trey from Texas. He takes like over 20 shots a game. Their coach, if I was Texas, their coach would already be fired.
I'm not a Rodney Terry fan. I'm with you too. Just give me Arkansas because they're at home. For Saturday, I'm just going to throw some of the bigger ones at you because that's the one people care about. Auburn traveling to Kentucky in a ranked matchup. What you got there?
Give me Auburn. I think it's going to be another close game. It's on the road at Rupp, and Auburn has a horrible history at winning at Rupp. I don't know off the top of my head when's the last time we won there, but this will probably be the worst Kentucky team we've played at Kentucky in quite some time. Give me Auburn here. I think it'll be a close game. I think a big factor in this game is going to be Lamont Butler's status. Most people don't believe he'll be playing in that game. Lamont Butler is the starting point guard for Kentucky. For people who don't know, made a Final Four with San Diego State.
Yeah, he beat Alabama on that run.
Yeah, and but he's a solid player. If he's out, I got Auburn pretty easily.
Yeah, this game reminds me a lot of the Alabama game. I think Kentucky's a little bit worse than Alabama, but they have a little more size than Alabama. So, I think they're not as good of a team as the Tide, but they have a little more size, which could maybe disrupt us. But I really think we win big. It's really just a name brand thing with Kentucky. But I'm at this prediction. If Kentucky beats Auburn, they storm the court. And they should, but they're not going to, so it doesn't matter. Next, and probably it's close, but probably the biggest game of Saturday, you have Alabama traveling to Tennessee.
Yeah, I think this time last year, Tennessee played at Alabama, and it was kind of for the conference championship. And Alabama lost that, obviously. and didn't end up getting that conference championship. I think they lost to
Shocker.
Auburn too after that. Yeah, and didn't end up getting the conference championship, and Tennessee got it. This year, those stakes really aren't on the line. But I think Tennessee is a very solid team. They just have no offensive game. They are the best defense in college basketball, in my opinion. It's the highest scoring offense versus the highest net rate defense. It'll be an interesting game, but give me Tennessee in a close one, though.
Yeah, I don't agree that Tennessee's the best defense in the country because that's in Auburn, Alabama. But outside of Auburn, they're the best defense. I think I'm probably there with you in college basketball. But give me Tennessee. I mean, look, they've been on a hot streak lately. They've won several in a row. Again, I'm going to kind of go back with what I said with Alabama. Alabama is a good team, but the way they succeed is having very short guards. I mean, I'm 6'2". I'm taller than Mark Sears. I'm taller than Aiden Holloway. Their guards are very short. Alabama's guards are short. When you play physical teams and have guards that can get up in your face and make you, Alabama's going to make some tough shots because they're good shooters. But when you have a hand in their face and you're playing good defense on them, they're not going to make as many of them. It's just a good matchup for Tennessee. They're going to dominate them on the inside. I mean, Grant Nelson was never as good as people hyped him up to be, and same with Cliff. Give me Tennessee maybe by 7 or 8 points. Feels right.
Yeah, it seems like that Chaz Lanier for them is pretty up and down. He needs to have a big game. I really like that center Tennessee has. He's a great defensive center. He came from Ohio State. I wasn't expecting him. When I saw they picked him up and I saw his stats, I was like, oh, how would they pick this guy up? But I mean, he gave Janai Broome a pretty tough time. I think Janai only had like 16 points, but yeah,
classic energy guy.
It'll be an interesting game, but yeah.
The last game I'm going to close it with. Two of my favorite, outside of Auburn, these are my two favorite teams in the conference. Texas A&M traveling to the Swamp to play Florida.
Yeah, give me Florida. I don't know the rest of their SEC schedule off the top of my head, but I'm not sure they're going to lose another SEC game.
Yeah, I've taken Florida too, but I can see them losing. And you saying that is stirring my brain. I'm looking up their schedule. Oh, then not only do they get A&M at home, the following Wednesday, they travel to Tuscaloosa. So really what's going to be interesting is Alabama and Florida both need to win out, of course, win that game, and then hope Auburn loses to Kentucky and at A&M to get a share of the SEC title.
And let's make this clear. If Florida loses at any point this week and Alabama loses as well at any point this week and Auburn just wins a game, they already won a share of the SEC championship.
Well, yeah, it's exciting news. And, what we're listening to here, it sounds like Florida and Alabama are playing both. They both could win, but they're playing very losable games on Saturday. So we could go ahead and clinch a share, but, of course, we want the whole thing, baby. We want the whole thing. So we're going for it. That's it for the SEC basketball games. Let me just go ahead and ask you this. Do you have Auburn winning all the rest of the games this year?
Off the top of my head, I'll say 3-1. I think
lose one between Kentucky and A&M. We lose one.
Yeah, and between Kentucky, A&M, and Alabama, I'll say the Texas A&M game. The only SEC game we lost this year was at home. It's almost debatable that we're better on the road with the way our guys like to talk trash to fans, and it's like they feed off of it. So, but if I had to pick one at Texas A&M, it's a top 10 game on the road. It's going to be tough, but I'll say 3-1. I think we might slip up if our guys aren't making shots. I could see us losing one of those.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I disagree. Sure, of course we can lose, but I wholeheartedly think we're winning out. Look, we dominated Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I don't think they beat us in Neville. I think we're better than A&M. That one scares me the most, and then I think we're way better than Kentucky. I think Auburn finishes this regular season 17-1 in SEC play. And keep in mind, I made that post saying Auburn's going undefeated in SEC play, and everyone made fun of me. And when we lost to Florida, everyone's in my comments saying, oh, you're an idiot. You're not serious, blah, whatever. I got trolled endlessly for that. But guess what? I'm only going to be off by one game because Auburn's going to be 17-1 in conference play. Off by one game. It's not bad at all. So yeah, I want to get that on the record.
I had us losing 2 games. I'm pretty sure. So I don't know. We'll see who's right. See
You
who's
could be
closer.
spot on. You
Yeah,
could be
yeah,
spot
could be.
on. Okay, well, do you have any other basketball info you want to add for now, or no?
No. We could do our top 5 SEC rankings real quick. I know a lot of people at the beginning of the year weren't very happy with our rankings. So, who would you have in your top 5 right off the rip?
Wow, you are putting me on the spot. So I think first is clear. Auburn is the top of the class. It's not all that tough. And then for me, second is the Florida Gators. They're the second best team. And also, if I remember correctly, Michael, I believe there was someone between one of us. One of us had Auburn 1 and Florida 2 to start the season, and is being proven right now, and it's me. And looking at the SEC standings, you know what? I really wanted to put Tennessee ahead of Alabama. Because my gut tells me, and not because I'm an Auburn fan, my gut tells me Tennessee's a better team. But the standings tell a different story. And if Alabama loses to Tennessee this Saturday, which I think they will, I'll change it. But right now, I got to go Alabama 3 because I mean they're 11-3 in conference. Tennessee's 9-5. And then I'm going to keep it pretty boring. Like I'm going with the top 5 teams in the regular standings. I got to go Tennessee 4 and A&M 5. I mean, you have Missouri who has the same conference record as Tennessee and A&M, and I think Missouri's phenomenal, and you could certainly make a case that they're there. But I just think Tennessee and A&M in particular has the veteran leadership to to give them a slight edge on Missouri. Than Tennessee, the fact that they lost in Auburn Arena or Neville Arena by 2, that says a lot about them to me. So
Sure.
that's my top 5. I keep it pretty boring. What about you?
Yeah. Well, hey, you had that Florida over Tennessee on me, but I'll say my whole top 5 is still my whole top 5, just in a slightly different order.
Okay.
So at 1, obviously give me Auburn. And by the way, this is a power ranking, so I'm doing who I think would win on a neutral floor.
Okay.
Okay, so Auburn at 1, Florida at 2, obviously, Tennessee at 3, and then give me Texas A&M at 4, and then Alabama at 5. I'm going to say this: Missouri is at 6, but I'm not buying the Missouri hype just yet. Lost to Arkansas this past week, and I'm just not a believer in that roster. Yeah, they beat Alabama at home, but I think the whole top 7 SEC teams would easily beat Alabama at home, in my opinion. So yeah, give me that as my top 5. I will also say Alabama did beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M, but that game was without Wade Taylor, who's been a first-team all-conference player before, their leading scorer. So, yes, they beat Texas A&M, but that's like beating Auburn without Janai Broome. That's not the same. Or beating the Lakers without LeBron. It's just
Right. Or Luca.
That doesn't mean you're better.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, again, on neutral floor, Tennessee, Alabama. I'm just going to give it to Alabama at this point because their conference record is 2, not 1 game better. It's 2 games. So I just felt like I have to.
Well,
but I certainly see it.
I want to say this. I wanted to make this point, but we didn't have the podcast. When Alabama was like 11 SEC games in, they had only played 2 top 7 SEC teams. They were the only team in the SEC. I think that this is why they're playing such a tough SEC schedule now, is because they got off to such a weak start. And so, now they're playing the top half of the SEC the rest of the way. And, yeah, I think time will tell that Alabama's not a top 3 SEC team.
Look, I tend to be there with you. But for right now, I'll have it there. We'll see how the season plays out. If Alabama goes on the road and beats Tennessee this upcoming Saturday, I might move them up to number 2. But I don't think that's happening. And even then, I'll probably still Florida ahead. But they could. But that's good stuff. The new power rankings top 5s have been released. So I guess now we'll move on. We've basketball season. We're talking primarily about that. Auburn football. Do you have any new Auburn football news, or nothing really right now?
Nothing off the top of my head. The freshmen are on campus now, but obviously they can't start spring practice. You're hearing some rumors now in football. Texas already announced that they're not having a spring game. I think Auburn obviously will have a spring game just because we're Auburn and it's the tradition. But I think honestly going forward, I agree with Texas. We shouldn't have a spring game. I think all it does is makes players who aren't getting the starting minutes, the starting role. I said minutes because we're in basketball season, but who aren't starting, who think they're going to start, and makes them want to transfer. It also other teams watch our spring game and they identify guys that they want to bring in. So yeah, I'm with the ruling of not having a spring game. And then the other thing I think I don't know if you saw this, they're looking at blowing up SEC championship weekend, and they're looking at blowing up SEC championship weekend. So what they would do was they would have four automatic teams from the SEC getting into the NCAA tournament. See, what they would do is have four NCAA teams, four SEC teams getting into the college football playoff. And the way they would do it is they would have the one play the two, the winner gets the bye, or gets the higher seed, and then the three would play the six, and the four would play the five, and the winners of both of those games would also get in. Just the format that they're looking at doing it. Those games would be played on the same weekend as the SEC championship. Just getting four. It's something they're talking about. So we'll see if they actually do it. Yeah, I'm all for it. I think it makes total sense. I think they want to make more money, and so I wouldn't be shocked if they did do it. But yeah, I think it was this year. When you look at this year, it was like, well, who gets in? Ole Miss, Alabama, or South Carolina? Well, none of them got in, but it almost got to that situation where they did, and it really wasn't that clear on any of the three teams who really deserved it. You could have made an
argument for all three.
Exactly.
Well, interesting. Usually you're the one breaking football news and stuff, but I have some news I can't fully break, but I can kind of tease at a little something. So. Some people think that our podcast is kind of a joke. They kind of say that, we're trolling, we're just on here to, whatever. We don't have any sources. Well, this upcoming Thursday, I am having lunch with a former national champion Auburn Tiger from the football team. And it's a scholarship player who played meaningful minutes and was an impact player that all Auburn fans should know. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm having lunch with him this upcoming Thursday, and I definitely want to pick his brain some, and I really hope to be able to secure him to come on the podcast at some point in the near future. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, let me tease one more thing with football as well. I can't say any names. I was talking to a source yesterday. And Auburn fans, I would expect a quarterback commit for the 2026 class very soon. That's all I'm going to say. It's not Jared Curtis, but it's a top guy.
Okay, wow. I was going to ask, did his name rhyme with Married Purtis? But, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, Curtis is, he's no longer in the running. As I said, if NIL wasn't a factor, he would have already been an Auburn commit. Unfortunately for us, NIL is the main factor with his case. He's down to Oregon and Georgia, and I expect him to end up with the Ducks.
Quack, quack. Okay. Well, then one other thing I'm going to ask you before we get off the air is, I know you and I have kind of been casual Auburn baseball fans in the past. This previous season wasn't fun at all to watch because we were losing at every SEC game we played. Most by one run, that feels like. All very close, we were just losing them. Did you watch, any of baseball opening weekend? We had another series against Wright State. We had a couple of weekday games. Were you able to catch any of it or no?
All I saw was the Twitter scores. Just seeing on Twitter if we won or lost. I don't. To be honest with you, I don't even know how to watch an Auburn baseball game. I know they're not. I know maybe ESPN Plus. I know they're never on TV. But obviously ESPN blew up that deal with the MLB, so maybe they'll start having more college baseball games. Yeah, after this year there won't be any more
the Sunday
MLB
night
games.
ESPN? Interesting. Well, let me ask you. So let me, I guess, ask you this first. What? Who's your TV provider? Like,
YouTube TV.
YouTube, okay, I can't speak to that. So we have Hulu Live or whatever. And so ESPN Plus comes with that, and I think you can do it with YouTube as well. Mm-hmm. YouTube TV, like link up your ESPN app if you put your info on it. anyways, yeah, I've been watching some. So as some people know, I was out in Las Vegas watching the Eagles and the Sphere, the weekend of opening weekend of baseball. So I didn't get to catch any of that. I'll admit I was very disappointed. I was really hoping for a sweep against Holy Cross. I was disappointed to go 2-1 against them, and we didn't run rule them any. I was really thinking, against a lesser opponent we'd do that. Then I was able to catch one of the 2 weekday games, the good one, which was Troy. Which, for me, I was thinking, okay, Troy, whatever, it's Troy. We should win, but they're a top 25 team. Troy is a very good baseball team, and Auburn went up 4-0, and then Troy came back, and I think they went up 6-4 or something like that. And I was kind of thinking, like, crap, this year's going to be just like last year. Like, we're 2-1, losing one game to Holy Cross, which I feel like we shouldn't have. And we're about to be 2-2, but we were able to come back and hit a walk-off against Troy. We won our other midweek game, I think, against North Alabama. Then we swept Wright State, and we run-ruled them twice. So baseball really looking stronger and stronger. The pitching, I mean, again, it's mostly inferior teams we play, but the pitching, the bullpen has looked dramatically better than last year from what I can remember. Hitting's been good. A couple of little notes I'll make is I remember Chris Stanfield, a really good outfielder for Auburn last year. I saw where he's playing for LSU this year. So that was I saw like a clip on Twitter of the LSU center fielder making a good play, and I was thinking that guy looks familiar. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's Chris Stanfield, which that was unfortunate. And then the other thing, I think maybe you saw this on Twitter. I thought this was a really cool moment. Cade Ballou, I believe is his name for Auburn. Friday morning of opening day, his mother passed away from cancer. That that evening, the same day, he went out there and he played. He said that that's what his mother would want him to do. Went out there and played. Not only did he play and Auburn win, he hit a home run. That's a God moment right there. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff.
It certainly is. I also saw he got an NIL deal. I forget who it was with. It's one of the
Byron's.
Yeah, Byron's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he also secured himself an NIL deal. So good for him. Yeah, sorry for his loss. But, yeah, hopefully we'll have a good baseball team this year. I saw we were projected, I want to say someone had us at 15 in the SEC before the season. But I also saw where we were close to being a top 25 team in some people's rankings. So, yeah, we'll have to see. We could be in the golden era of Auburn sports right now. As we've both said earlier, we have the best coach in college basketball right now. I think we could both say we agree that Hugh Freeze is the top 5 SEC football coach. And, yeah, baseball, if we could get baseball going, this could be the golden era of Auburn sports.
Yeah, when I was out in Las Vegas, I saw that college baseball was starting and all, and I texted my good friend Mark Jennings, and I asked him where he thought Auburn would be this year in the standings, because I knew last year we weren't particularly good, but I'm kind of new to trying to follow it very closely. In the past, I didn't follow recruiting, transfer portal for baseball or anything, so I asked him what he thought. And he told me that his good friend Butch Thompson is one of his favorite, if not his favorite coach of all time at Auburn. And he said, well, last year Auburn didn't do very well. He said he wouldn't expect, Auburn to follow it up with another horrible year. Now, he said in the SEC media preseason they had us at 12th. But again, Mark Jennings told me that he thinks that Auburn will, thinks there's a good chance they'll outbeat those expectations. And he said that, Butch Thompson's a very good friend of his, and, he thinks he has the ability to do great things at Auburn. So we're very excited about that.
One more thing before we end the podcast. I was texting with one of my friends who's on the football staff at Auburn. You know who I'm talking about, but he doesn't want me to say his name, so out of respect, I won't. Yeah, and what the staff is saying about Deuce Nye right now are all the opposite things they were telling me about Walker White. When Walker White came in, you really didn't hear much of anything other than, he played lower league football. He'll improve over time, which is like, okay, that doesn't sound too great. Deuce Nye, they're saying this is going to be a quarterback battle for Jackson Arnold. He's that good. He's SEC ready. They've never seen a freshman like this before.
Yeah, that's exciting. I know exactly what you're talking about. So he hadn't told me that, but I know he tells you a little more than me. Probably because I run my mouth and you don't. You're a little more secretive than me. So, I guess I can't blame him. But That's good stuff. I'm excited. Yeah, I definitely hope he pans out better than Walker White. But that's all we have for this episode, folks. So as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We are glad Auburn's on your mind. War Eagle, AA knows. I'm Ashton Daniels, AA, and we are out.